Here are 5 of the most forgiving drivers in golf, which I've tested over the past 12 months, except for this one, which might just be the most budget friendly and the best overall. Firstly, a forgiving driver is all about optimizing strikes that don't hit the center of the club. In other words, mishits. This will make it easier for golfers to achieve straighter and more consistent shots, even if they don't make perfect contact with the ball. Forgiving drivers often have features like expanded sweet spots, lower and rearward center of gravity, which places the CG low and back in the club head. This helps with higher launch and stability. And the golfers that are going to benefit from using these drivers the most are beginner golfers. Since new players often struggle with a consistent contact, a forgiving driver can help them achieve straighter shots as they learn. Higher handicap golfers who tend to miss the center of the club face would benefit from forgiveness, as it keeps the ball in play and minimizes big mistakes. Casual or recreational players, those who play less frequently, may need more consistency to hit the sweet spot. So forgiving drivers can make the game more enjoyable and produce better results. All the drivers in this video hit that brief, so which one should we look at first? How about the GOAT, the king, the absolutely all-conquering G430 Max 10K from Ping? Okay, first swing of the day, let's go. Now you'll hear that term quite a bit in this video, 10K. But what does that actually mean? Moment of inertia, MOI, measures the club head's resistance to twisting upon impact. It's calculated in grams per square centimetre, or G.cm squared brackets dot. The higher the MOI, the more stable the driver is through impact. And it also lets me get away with horrendous heel strikes like that. Thank you, Ping. Currently, that 10K number is about the maximum that manufacturers can go to without doing something incredibly weird with the club head. The only downside with a really forgiving driver like the 10K models, usually it spins a lot, it flies straight up in the air, and there's a lack of workability. But generally speaking, for most golfers, these are positive things, not negatives. But this is why I love the G430 Max 10K so much. It really does it all. It is super forgiving, but you can also control the spin and the flight. You might think I'm being overly positive, but honestly, I've had this in the bag pretty much for a full year, and it's remarkable. It sounds and it feels great. It really, really does. My only issue with it is it's not the best looking driver. When it's behind the ball, yeah, it does take some getting used to, but it's very rare that you find a pure unicorn that has everything all together. This is more like a donkey with a horn. But the technology which is visible on these clubs, it's not just for show. These ridges are turbulators. They allowed air to flow a little bit more smoother over the top of the club head. You can see here it's got a partially carbon crown. This allows weight to be maneuvered within the club head. Specifically, sticking a massive tungsten weight at the back to pull that CG lower and deeper. It's got a forged face, and it's also got something called spinsistency, which is a horrendous name, but what it means is if you strike the ball from lower on the club face, normally that would spin up and lose a lot of distance. With the Ping drivers, that doesn't happen. It actually controls it really well. It's a technology that when you hear about it, first of all, you're very skeptical, but actually when you test it out, it does work. The Ping really is a rare beast that covers a whole wide spectrum of most golfers. And I've done some data comparison between the G430 Max 10K and the AI Smoke Triple Diamond, which is a better player's absolute beast of a club. The AI Smoke Triple Diamond is really based on producing low spin numbers, but when tested at the same loft, as you can see, there really isn't that much difference. I am not sure that Ping really knew how good of a driver they had when they released this club. It's fantastic. Best of all time? Question mark. Next up, we have the TaylorMade Qi10 Max. So TaylorMade switched to carbon faces in their metal woods a few years ago now, and they have fully committed to the project. I also just love the way it looks. I love the blue, or the purple. I'm a little bit colourblind, for all I know it could be vomit green, but I like the look of it. My only issue with this driver as a better player is it just spins a little bit too much. So if it's struck with speed, the ball just goes up, up, up and away, and then it lands pretty quickly without much distance. However, if you have a slower swing speed and you just want a driver which is forgiving and it gets the ball in the air, this is a cracker. Whoa, oh, God, that is an awful strike. And it is coming back to the middle. I think the biggest difficulty for many golfers when getting a forgiving driver is admitting that you need one. But the Qi10 Max is good because it offers a lot of variability, especially with the amount of loft that you can add. The shaft sleeve on TaylorMade is one of my favorites. You can adapt it by about 2 degrees. The Qi10 Max uses carbon absolutely everywhere. It's on the sole, it's on the crown, of course, it is on the face. And what TaylorMade say is that allows them to pull weight a long way back in the club head. And as the name suggests, this is, of course, a 10K driver. Now, having 10K stamped on a driver is going to become more and more fashionable, but it's not essential. You don't need a 10K driver for forgiveness. There are a lot of forgiving drivers out there that don't quite reach that mark, and they don't even have to be brand new. Such as the Callaway Paradym X. I absolutely love this club. Now, it's not quite at the 10K mark, but it is very close. Oh man, it just feels absolutely fantastic. So Callaway brought out the AI Smoke range this year, and this might be one of those rare occasions where the previous driver, I think, is actually better than what replaced it. It uses forged carbon in the crown and the sole, and this allows better shaping of that material. It also has a cool pattern that doesn't affect performance, but well, it looks lovely when the sun catches it. This club has a little bit of a draw bias, which means it's designed to help players who tend to slice the ball, but honestly, it sits super square behind the ball at address, and it looks awesome. It also does everything you want from a forgiving driver, because I have hit that so high and so out the toe, and yet it has flown down the middle of the fairway, and it feels great. It feels great. On off-center strikes, this driver is excellent, and I'll throw some data up here that you can see, but I've got to be honest, when I was testing this driver out previously and today, it's actually difficult to not find the center of the club, which sounds absolutely ridiculous, and I know the comments are going to be flooding in like a tidal wave, but honestly, this club is just so easy to hit. One of the reasons that I love this club, and it is an experience thing, you know, I've tested a lot of equipment, it's relatively easy to find a club which is forgiving when you don't strike it out the center. And it's quite easy to find a club that feels good. It's very hard to find a club that feels good when not struck from the center. Yes, one take, yes! And also, because this is now a 1.5 years old, it's cheaper, so that's a bonus. A club, however, that is known for being expensive is the PXG Black Ops driver. Now, this is definitely a club that has benefited from long-term testing, because when I first hit it, I wasn't convinced. It has a weighting system which actually allows the 10K MOI figure to be achieved. So the forgiveness is there. I was just never keen on how it looks behind the ball. It's just a bit shiny. And the graphics and the details on it just look a little bit cheap. And for a retail price of 550 quid, I certainly do want something that is a little bit more appealing to the eye. However, I have to say, after retesting and after hitting it, it's actually convinced me. I really like it. I think it's a solid driver. It feels slightly firmer than some of the others on this test, such as the Paradym, which is super soft. It feels nice. This is a little bit more explosive. It feels stronger off the face. And to begin with, I couldn't quite square everything that I was feeling, seeing, and then believing. But now, I really like it. The internal weighting also acts as a frequency optimizer to make this driver sound good. And it is a subtle thing, it's a strange thing, but I do believe that if a driver feels and sounds good, it gives the golfer more confidence. It allows them to attack the ball with a little bit more ferocity and less fear because they know it's going to feel and sound great. And that is what is happening here with me. I'll compare the data here to the Ping G430 Max 10K, and you can see there are some similarities. There are some similarities in the design as well, as far as the carbon to titanium ratio. This is a club, I have to say, that has really, really won me over. My voice is breaking, it's not because I'm emotional, because I've not had a coffee yet. And now, onto the surprise package in this video. Now, I haven't had this driver long. In fact, it's from a manufacturer that I've never tested before. However, the consensus is it's a great product that's Tour validated, and something that's very important to a lot of people, it is cheap. So this is the Tour Edge Exotics E725. So Tour Edge have been around for quite some time, and they have a lot of sponsored players, especially on the senior tours. And the E725 is an updated version of a previous model that's been tweaked to get to that magic 10K number. And they're so proud of it, they've even whacked it on the bottom of the driver. And as mentioned, it is cheaper than most of the other drivers on this test, with the exception of the Paradym X. But remember, that is a few years old now. And tech-wise, it's no slouch. So it's got a sliding movable weight in the back of the club, it's got carbon components, and features a power channel, which functions exactly like a TaylorMade speed pocket, but you didn't hear that from me. But the thing I suppose you really want to know from me is how it performs. And you know what? It's really, really good. So here's the comparison between the Tour Edge and the Ping. And I have to say, data-wise, the Tour Edge really, really surprised me. It was fantastic. To be comparable to one of my favorite ever drivers is really saying something. Feel-wise was excellent. It felt quite strong, it felt quite powerful. Because of the offset in the club, I found it a little bit more difficult to control as far as direction. So I did see a few balls going off to the left-hand side. But for other golfers who might want a little bit more of a draw bias, wow, fantastic. So I just want to say a huge thank you to Heswall Golf Club for having us down. It's been an amazing day. If you do want to check out more videos on this channel and for more information on how to fill your bag, check these videos out here.